You walk into your local supermarket and start picking fruit off the shelf, thinking all fruit is basically the same, right? A banana's a banana, an apple's an apple. But the truth that most of the British public don't realize is that some of them come with a lot more baggage than others. Certain fruits on our shelves which carry hidden risks we were never told about. When most people buy fruit, they're thinking they're going for something clean, something fresh and natural. Well, supermarkets have done an excellent job of selling us the illusion of fresh fruit to us. It's always right there at the front of the store, piled high and promising you good health with every bite. But much of this so-called fresh fruit has been in this storage for up to a year. Others are picked early, then pumped and gassed for sudden artificial ripening. These are fruits which are forced to ripen when they weren't ready to ripen naturally. But that's just the start. Many are imported from countries with pesticide rules far looser than the UK's, and those pesticides don't just disappear when they cross the border. In recent UK testing, they found dozens of fruit samples with what scientists refer to as a pesticide cocktail. Chemicals which are illegal in the UK, where we are yet to fully understand the combined effects on the human body. UK studies have found viruses like norovirus and hepatitis A on supermarket berries. In some cases, it's not just about pesticide risk, it's about whether the fruit has been handled cleanly at all. This isn't about scaring anyone off eating fruit. Fruit is good for us, but some fruits are far better bought from a different source, and at the bare minimum, supermarket fruit need more than just a simple rinse under the kitchen sink. That's because not all fruits carry the same risks, and not all the supply chains are equal. Some fruits absorb more pesticides, some need more chemicals to survive long-distance shipping. Some are grown in ways that heavily increase the use of fungicides and insecticides, and some, frankly, just don't taste like how we used to remember them. In this video, we'll show you the 7 worst fruits to buy from UK supermarkets, the ones with the highest chemical risk, the most tainted supply chains, the fruit you really need to be aware of when shopping at your local supermarket, the fruits which should be first priority to make that switch to organic. And then we'll go over the 7 fruits that are less of a concern, ones that are still relatively safe to buy from your local supermarket, whether you choose to go with the organic option or not. But before we start, if you find any of this helpful, we kindly ask you to like, subscribe, and hype this video, and leave a comment. It lets us know this is the kind of content you want more of, and helps us keep uncovering what others won't say.
Number 1. Grapes. Grapes look clean. They're small, sweet, and ready to eat straight from the pack. But in the UK's most recent round of government testing, grapes came back with some of the worst results of any fruit on supermarket shelves. Over 90% of samples contained multiple pesticide residues. One supermarket sample had 16 different chemicals on a single bunch. Many of these residues are fungicides and insecticides used to protect the grapes during growing and transport. But some are chemicals linked to hormone disruption, reproductive harm, and long-term toxicity. In 2024, a sample of supermarket Sultana grapes was found to contain PFAS, synthetic forever chemicals that don't break down in the body and have been linked to immune dysfunction and certain cancers. UK pesticide rules are already too weak, but in this case, the chemical wasn't even approved for use here. It entered the food chain through imports. That's because most grapes in UK supermarkets come from countries like Turkey, Chile, and South Africa, where monitoring and enforcement is looser. Supermarkets buy on global contract, usually prioritizing shelf life, price, and appearance over health impacts. Grapes are delicate, so after harvest, they're often packed with sulfur dioxide pads to prevent mold. These pads slowly release gas into the pack while the grapes travel thousands of miles. It's legal, but it can leave behind sulfite residues, something that can irritate the gut or lungs, especially in children or anyone with asthma. And because grapes are eaten raw, unpeeled, and often by kids straight from the fridge, any surface residue is going straight in. This is also a fruit that concentrates risk over time. Grapes are eaten in bunches, often daily. They're included in lunchboxes, toddler snack packs, mixed fruit pots, and sold as a healthy grab-and-go food. But with no way for shoppers to see the growing conditions, farm country, or chemical history, you're trusting the supermarket, and the testing says that trust is misplaced. Grapes are one of the first fruits worth switching to organic. The difference is huge. Organic grapes can't be treated with the synthetic fungicides or sulfur pads used in conventional supply chains. If organic isn't available, consider skipping grapes entirely until UK-grown ones are in season and available locally. Some farm shops and pick-your-own farms in southern England grow low-spray or unsprayed table grapes. They're seasonal, but they're cleaner, safer, and far more flavourful.
Number 2. Strawberries and soft berries. These are the fruits most of us associate with summer, health, and freshness. But behind the punnet, supermarket berries are some of the riskiest fruit you can buy. In UK government testing, over 80% of supermarket strawberries contained multiple pesticide residues. That's not one chemical per fruit, it's often 3, 4, or more at once. Strawberries are soft, vulnerable to mold, and grow close to the ground. That makes them a magnet for pests, so conventional farms spray them regularly with insecticides, fungicides, and growth regulators, often right up to harvest. Raspberries, blueberries, and cherries fall into the same category. They're delicate, they don't travel well, and to keep them looking fresh after thousands of miles, the only option is regular chemical use plus cold storage, often days or weeks from field to shelf. The other issue is hygiene. Berries are eaten raw, they're rarely peeled, and they're handled by a long chain of workers, packers, and processors before reaching your fridge. In one UK government-backed study, norovirus, the common vomiting bug, was found on over 3% of supermarket raspberries. Frozen berries have been linked to hepatitis A outbreaks across Europe. And it's not theoretical. In 2023, a fruit salad mix served in UK hospitality settings was linked to a spike in gastrointestinal illness. The common ingredients? Strawberries and melon. Strawberries are also one of the most flavor-degraded fruits in the supermarket. They're picked underripe, chilled immediately, and bred for firmness in shelf life, not taste. A supermarket strawberry in June might look fine, but it often has no aroma and very little flavor. That's because it's likely an imported variety, picked early, grown under plastic, and handled for logistics, not nutrition. All of this adds up to a fruit that looks fresh, but carries more risk than most shoppers realize. Pesticide cocktails, pathogen risk, lost flavor. It's not a great deal. Strawberries and berries are exactly the kind of fruit to buy elsewhere. When they're in season in the UK, get them from a farmer's market or a pick-your-own farm where they've been in a field that morning and haven't been sprayed to death or washed in chlorine. Or buy them organic when you can. Organic berries cost more, but they skip the worst sprays and come from smaller supply chains. For out-of-season use, like in smoothies, frozen organic berries are a safer bet. They're frozen quickly after harvest and don't carry the same hygiene risks as fresh imports.
Number 3. Apples. Apples seem like a safe, everyday fruit, but they come with more hidden baggage than most people realize. In UK tests, around 70% of supermarket apples had multiple pesticide residues. That includes fungicides, insecticides, and post-harvest treatments, some of which are linked to hormone destruction and liver toxicity in animal studies. Supermarket apples are also rarely fresh. Most are harvested in the autumn and stored for up to a year in cold, low-oxygen chambers. To survive that long, they're treated with chemicals like 1-MCP, a gas that slows ripening, and coated in edible wax to stop the skin drying out. That wax often contains preservatives or fungicides, and unless you peel it off, you're eating it. The longer the storage, the more nutrients and flavor are lost. By the time that apple hits your trolley in spring or summer, its vitamin C content is dropped and the texture can be mealy or bland. If you eat apples often, and especially if you eat the skin, switch to organic.
You'll avoid the worst residues and the chemical wax. Better yet, buy from a local orchard or farm shop in the autumn. The difference in taste is immediate, and you'll know what you're biting into. Number 4. Peaches and nectarines. These are some of the most chemically sprayed fruits on supermarket shelves. In UK testing, over 85% of peaches and nectarines contain multiple pesticide residues. That's because their soft skin bruises easily and attract pests, so growers rely heavily on fungicides and insecticides right up to harvest. Most supermarket peaches are picked before they're ripe, chilled, shipped, and then softened artificially. That gives them shelf life but strips out the flavor. Even when they look juicy, the taste is often watery or flat. Because the skin is eaten and hard to scrub clean, any residues go straight into your body. And since they're a summer staple for kids, that exposure can build up fast. These are fruits worth buying organic or skipping entirely unless you can get them in season from a trusted local grower. Fresh, ripe, low-spray peaches do exist, just not usually in a supermarket punnet.
Number 5. Cherries. Cherries might look innocent, but they carry one of the highest pesticide loads of any fruit in UK tests. Around 80% of supermarket cherries contain multiple residues, including chemicals used right up to harvest to keep the fruit looking perfect and free from rot. They're also nearly always imported, unless it's the middle of summer. Off-season, most supermarket cherries come from the US or Chile, meaning long-haul transport, cold storage, and extra treatments to survive the journey. By the time they reach the shelf, they've often lost flavor, softness, and some of their nutritional value. Cherries are eaten whole, skin and all, so every bit of residue ends up in your mouth. If you love them, hold out for UK-grown cherries in season, or go organic, especially for kids. The difference in both taste and exposure is huge. Number 6. Bananas. Bananas seem low risk. After all, you peel them. But in supermarket supply chains, bananas are one of the most chemically treated fruits. After harvest, they're dipped in fungicides like thiabendazole and imazalil to prevent mold during shipping. These same chemicals are linked to hormone disruption and show up regularly in UK testing, mostly on banana skins. Supermarkets also ripen bananas artificially. They arrive green, are gassed with ethylene, and turn yellow in ripening rooms. It's efficient, but the fruit never develops the same flavor or nutrition as one ripened naturally on the plant. While residues on the peel may not seem like a problem, handling them, especially with kids, means there's still contact risk. And behind the scenes, bananas are grown on monoculture plantations with heavy pesticide use and poor worker protections, often in regions with weak environmental regulation. If you eat them daily, switch to organic or fair trade organic bananas. They're grown without the harshest chemicals and with better oversight. On a fruit most families eat every single week.
Number 7. Melons. Melons might feel like a safer bet, thick-skinned, sweet, and usually eaten cold. But beneath the surface, there are real risks. In recent UK outbreaks, cantaloupe and Gallia melons were linked to salmonella infections, traced back to imported batches from Central America. The rough skin on cantaloupes traps bacteria, and if the outer surface isn't washed properly, slicing straight through drags that contamination into the flesh. Melons are also often treated with post-harvest fungicides, and sometimes waxed to keep them looking fresh during long transport. Most are picked before peak ripeness, stored cold, and slowly soften off the vine, losing both flavor and nutrition along the way. Supermarkets rarely label country of origin clearly, and most shoppers don't wash melon skin before cutting. That combination makes melons one of the most overlooked contamination risks in the fruit aisle. When they're in season, get melons from trusted farm shops or EU-grown organic sources, and always scrub the skin before slicing, even if you're not eating the rind.
So far, we've covered the fruits with the highest risks,
the ones worth avoiding or buying organic whenever possible. But not every fruit in the supermarket is a problem. Some come with built-in protection, lower chemical use, or simpler supply chains. If you're going to buy fruit from the supermarket, these are the ones that carry far less risk. Oranges and other citrus. Even though citrus fruits are some of the most chemically treated produce in the entire supermarket, the risk isn't in the flesh, it's in the peel. While citrus peels often carry fungicides and wax coatings, the inside flesh usually contains very little residue. If you're only eating the segments and discarding the skin, the health risk from pesticide exposure is low. Supermarkets don't warn you, but many of the fruits sold, especially imported lemons, limes, and grapefruit, come with fine print on the packaging saying "peel not suitable for consumption." That's because the chemicals used on the rind aren't intended to be eaten. But in real life, people grate zest into meals, add slices to drinks, or use the whole fruit in recipes. Children also handle the peel and then eat with their hands, unknowingly transferring those residues to their food. The key is to wash your hands after peeling, and avoid zesting or using the peel in cooking unless the fruit is organic. As a snack or juice source, supermarket citrus is fairly low risk when handled properly. So if you're not eating the rind, conventional oranges and lemons are generally safe to buy. No need to go organic unless you're juicing the whole thing with the skin. Avocados. Avocados are one of the cleanest fruits you can buy from a supermarket. Their thick, inedible skin acts as a natural barrier, blocking nearly all pesticide residues from reaching the flesh inside. In global testing, over 95% of avocados came back with no detectable residues at all. They're also usually shipped unripe and hard, meaning they require less chemical treatment during transit. Supermarkets let them ripen off the shelf, which reduces the need for artificial ripening or preservation methods. Unless you're eating the skin, which almost no one is, conventional avocados are low risk even when bought from a mainstream supermarket. Pineapples. Pineapples follow the protect our plates ideology to a T. Like avocados, pineapples come with their own armor. The tough, spiky rind protects the flesh from pesticide exposure, and since it's not eaten, most surface residues never make it to your plate. Pineapples are also harvested ripe and transported chilled, so there's less need for artificial ripening gases or chemical coatings. Residue testing consistently shows pineapples as one of the lowest risk fruits in terms of pesticide exposure. If you're peeling and slicing it yourself, a conventional supermarket pineapple is generally a safe buy. No need to go organic unless you're juicing the whole thing with the skin.
Mangoes and papayas. Both mangoes and papayas have thick, inedible skins that act as a strong barrier against pesticide residues. While they're often sprayed during growing, those residues tend to stay on the outside and are removed when the fruit is peeled. They're also less likely to be coated in wax or treated with heavy post-harvest chemicals compared to apples or citrus. As long as the skin is discarded and the fruit washed before cutting, the health risk is minimal. Unless you're blending them whole with the peel, which most people don't, mangoes and papayas from supermarkets are a low-risk fruit. Kiwi fruit. Kiwi has a naturally protective, fuzzy skin, and most people peel it or eat only the inner flesh. Even when the skin is eaten, residue levels tend to be very low. In testing, kiwi consistently ranks as one of the cleanest fruits for pesticide exposure. They're also less likely to be waxed or treated after harvest, and they don't require artificial ripening like bananas or stone fruits. If you wash them well or peel them, supermarket kiwis are a safe and low-risk option, even when conventionally grown. Watermelon. Watermelon has a thick, hard rind that shields the inner fruit from most pesticides and post-harvest treatments. The flesh is rarely exposed to residues, and as long as the outer skin is washed before slicing, the risk is low. Watermelons are also less reliant on chemical coatings or ripening agents. They're typically picked when mature and shipped whole, meaning fewer interventions compared to softer fruits. If you're buying a whole watermelon and slicing it at home, it's one of the safest supermarket fruits. Just make sure to rinse the outside before cutting through. Bananas, with a few simple precautions.
You may be wondering why bananas appear on both the lists, and that could just be because I love bananas so much. But the truth is, despite the concerns around post-harvest fungicides on banana skins, the edible part of the fruit carries very little residue. The thick peel acts as a natural barrier, and if you handle them properly, peel carefully and wash your hands after, the risk is low. So for most people, especially when eaten occasionally, supermarket bananas are a relatively safe choice. Still, if you eat them daily or have young kids, it's worth choosing organic or fair trade organic when you can, just to avoid repeated low-level exposure from the skin. Thanks for listening, and remember, stay aware, stay sharp, and protect your plate.